the piper with homestead behind him, scratched at the horns that grew from his head, put hoof to the soil to travel and toil, deep into country or towns to paint red. And he rolled down the road at a good steady pace to escape from the worries he'd left in that place, where piping caused fighting in mixed company, and a sensitive bard, not a hoplite was he. So head to the tavern and strum your cathar, for Thales the piper has come from afar to put each of us properly under the bar. A carouser quite fit to be written in stars. From outside the islands come many strange guests that a king or a lord may need to be set. Hospitality dictates we must show respect, and music and drinking are only correct. Ladies whose properties started great wars might come for a holiday, fleeing such bores, so they might need an escort free from our moors. A talented piper our court must implore, so head to the theater and bring your cathar, for Thales the piper has come from afar to put even this diplomat under the bar. A carousal, I'm sure, to be written in stars, up from the sea or in caverns below, older than legend lost terrors grow, up to Olympus where the sacred we know deserve at the least a good piping show. True heroes adventure like furies obsessed, never to settle, to give up and rest, though keen enough bronze can solve many quests, for Titan straight fighting might not be the best. So head to Olympus, we need your cathar, for Thales the piper has come from afar to put even the Titans under the bar. A carousing that fate would see written in stars. Head to Olympus, we need your cathar, Thales the piper has come from afar to put even the Titans under the bar. A carousing that fate will see written in stars. Jade fade beyond sight as we peer in obsidian hall. Fragments of refuse, chalky and white, surround the strewn bones by the sacrifice wall. Runes from a time too old to be known are carved in the green malachite. They showed the first seeds Gaia gave to be sown, to bestial progenitors in primeval light. The surroundings are grave, but the wall stretches on, and it tells how the first trees took hold to flourish for aeons before that red dawn, where dark brine and ruin brought horror untold. There the script changes, jagged and raw, as if a new hand went to carve. But this syntax is strange and follows no law. After that any story is pieces and shards. Runes come to an end, the mural comes in, and the sacrifice shown in detail. The cowled horned priests who brought the herd in, marks on the bones show what that entailed. Our party is shocked, we back toward the door, but the portal is covered by bars. Obsidian Hall comes to life with a roar. There stand druids with sickles and grotesque cathars. They strum out the notes that bring madness to bear. My comrades fell in with bare hands, possessed and transformed by some curse in the lair. My friends were no longer quite woman or man. Since then I've been trapped in this windowless cell. I cannot know why I was spared. I know I look ragged, I fear for my health. I beg for my freedom, I crave the fresh air. Let me out, just open the door. Please, my fair strangers, free me from this place. I can't stand the howls that come from the floor. Let me out, or I'll gnaw off your face. face. Let me out, or I'll come for you all, and take your dead bones to feed the great wall. Let me out, 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 let me out. The great skelly beast stood and he faced the waters that burst from the dam. As he channeled his magic, the wall was replaced. He was blasted by cheers from town woman and man. And we gathered to thank the great sky for its gifts, for this gaudy and solid and strong, rather than graves for our drowned goats and kids. Our warden, he rose to protect us from wrong. He roamed far and wide with a party of legend. Many were saved, but his friends had to pay. He put sorrow aside and instead tried to mend. He looked for a village who had need of his ways. Any hole could be plugged with a stout enough cork. Any dike could be mended and smoothed. He'd help mighty and rich or the impoverished short. As he knew he was needed, his ravaged heart soothed. And we gathered to thank the great sky for its gifts, for this gaudy and solid and strong, rather than graves for our drowned goats and kids. Our warden, he rose to protect us from wrong. For he came to our village, all backwater ditch, and he saw what great misery we kept. Our bedrock would constantly roil and shift. Because of this curse, we died and we wept. In our land he found holes that couldn't be plugged, and dams that couldn't be fixed. And he knew he was needed. With a great tortile shrug, he settled, and now we can safely exist. And we gather to thank the great sky for its gifts, for this gaudy and solid and strong, rather than graves for our drowned goats and kids. Our warden, he rose to protect us from wrong. And we gather to thank the great sky for its gifts, for this guardian solid and strong, rather than graves for our drowned goats and kids. Our warden, he rose to protect us from wrong. Gather, good people, the young and the old, to hear of a traveler daring and bold. He served in the wars in a great naval fleet, with cudgel and girdle and wings on his feet. They say he was born of a god or a nymph, left as a babe on a pedestal's plinth. Only the blessed had such speed and such skill, and never was seen a boy with more will. Centaur and harpy cower in fear as our hero draws near. Foes ready their spears, but he runs in with haste, and they look on his face and see that his spirit is marked by the face. If he comes by a cyclops, furious and red, who threatens to crush his bones into bread, our hero relies on the shape of his brain and attempts every parting with minimal pain. He knows in the past these giants were tricked, robbed of their flocks, blinded with sticks. He thinks for the grace of the gods stumble I, so even to monsters he's humble and kind. Centaur and harpy cower in fear as our hero draws draws near, foes ready their spears, but he runs in with haste, and they look on his face, and see that his spirit is marked by the fates. When the boy became man, with chest toned and broad, he crafted a plan to find goddess or god, that left him alone with such spirit and need. He beseeched the blind poet, and followed each lead. So he came to the briny caves close to the sea, and saw who had spawned his divine destiny. A 20-limbed kraken with human-like hands. Though he buckled in horror, he'd soon understand. Centaur and harpy cower in fear as our hero draws near, foes ready their spears, but he runs in with haste, and they look on his face, and see that his spirit is marked by the fates. His sire or dame, he wasn't quite sure, pointed him to a shallow pool carved in the floor, and he saw as he peered in that burbling ooze, the truth of his birth was no longer confused, and he knew that he must learn and come back and teach each of his siblings, whether tadpole or leech. And he knew why he feared not what old laws forbid. Things are less fearful when your mother's a squid. Squid. Put hope in the seals to hold us through. Have faith that the keel holds up on you. Put oar to the brine, beat the drum double time. This barge is a wreck, but it must make do. It's been barely a week since we left the safe harbor to rescue the sacrifice tied to the rock. Though we killed the sea snake, our sailcloth was raked, and the wind was too mighty to row back to dock. Put hope in the seals to hold us through. Have faith that the keel holds up on you. Put oar to the brine, beat the drum double time. This barge is a wreck, but it must make do. The strain will bring end to the rostrum and rudder if we fail to contend this murderous storm. We've got just one hope in this barrel of rope. Tie pillar to pillar, put shoulder to oar. Put hope in the seals to hold us through. Have faith that the keel holds up on you. Put oar to the brine, beat the drum double time. This barge is a wreck, but it must make do. Though close, we must pass through the crushing stones that can render our ship into planks. We have to go fast if we want to get past. Pull lookout, we need every rower in rank. Put hope in the seals to hold us through. Have faith that the keel holds up on you. Put oar to the brine, beat the drum double time. This barge is a wreck, but it must make do. Put hope in the seals to hold us through. Have faith that the keel holds up on you. Put oar to the brine, beat the drum double time. This barge is a wreck, but it must make do. Put oar to the brine, beat the drum double time. This barge is a wreck, but it must make do. In a city of cowards, a shady man waits. Ladies in powder selling off dates. Sweet fruit for the harvest at excellent rates. A man from the mountains looking for gold. The plan hashed by the fountain for treasures of old. Artifacts for the harvest by adventurers bold. Head to the bay where privateers rest, or captain to challenge in combat in battle. best in a crew that wants more than just gold in a chest. And these men have an excellent plan to ascend the dead hills where the steppe nomads dance and portend what they will from their drug-induced trance. Protect innocence captured to finish a plan by a sinister man who works so he can talk to gods, never dying but dreaming and scheming and trying to bring dust to the land. Run rugged, give all, there's lives on the line. Roads flooded, give stall, but they strive through the brine. A pursuit to the tower, arriving on time. A road madman stands, dagger in hand, but cannot withstand the mountainous man from the mountains who landed and ended the plans to bring old gods and chaos, turn castles to sand. They returned and commanded the gates to be sealed, renew the old deals, give the world time to heal, keep the gates locked and maintain the zeal, for a world still in shock is an excellent meal for chaos and madness which must be repealed by trial and error and belief in the real. Enjoy our hospitality, our beds and bread and wine. To sleep and heal our warmth, to feel and worship our divine. Welcome here, my traveler, through rain or hazing sun. To work or trade our fields or stalls and feast when evening comes. Enjoy our hospitality, our breads and bed and wine. To feel at home, although you roam, is the gift of our divine. The roads are paved and safe to walk, guarded day and night. Scripts are saved to be read or taught, to know is its own delight. Enjoy our hospitality, our wine and breads and beds. Though you may leave, you'll always grieve for the life you could have here instead. Our walls are strong, our laws are fair, and they show us how to live. We all belong in each other's care, with just one life to give. Enjoy our hospitality, our sacramental wine. After one more night in the dead moon's light, you'll be born again divine. Anahita, mother of water, feeds the rivers, the brooks, and the springs. The naiads are her chosen daughters, and the sea god brings her corals and rings. Our cities were built with her blessing divine by shepherds who heard her burbling call. She showed how the heavens moved over time, and with practice we spread that knowledge to all. Anahita, mother of water, feeds the rivers, the brooks, and the springs. The naiads are her chosen daughters, and the sea god brings her corals and rings. The Magi are nothing without River Mother, but when learned travelers come from the west, they walk past the shrines and don't bathe in the water, instead rubbing griefs on their faces and chests. Anahita, mother of water, feeds the rivers, the brooks, and the springs. The naiads are her chosen daughters, and the sea god brings her corals and rings. We humor the men who risk such far travel, who covet our secrets for their fine polity. Cities where women are locked up like cattle, and most of the men live in bare poverty. Anahita, mother of water, feeds the rivers, the brooks, and the springs. The naiads are her chosen daughters, and the sea god brings her corals and rings. We tell them the tales we reserve for such fools, easy to check with patience and time, but philosophers fail to harness such tools, preferring instead what sounds the most fine. Anahita, mother of water, feeds the rivers, the brooks, and the springs. The naiads are her chosen daughters, and the sea god brings her corals and rings. But you, my friend, are not such a stranger. You've heeded her call with clear heart and mind. Dive in the pool, push past the danger, and you'll share in peace as only we find. Anahita, mother of water, feeds the rivers, the brooks, and the springs. The naiads are her chosen daughters, and the sea god brings her corals and rings. Anahita, mother of water, feeds the rivers, the brooks, and the springs. The naiads are her chosen daughters, and the sea god brings her corals and rings. The tale of a brave and noble wanderer who fell into a place not known by men for years, a place underground, older than time or longer, growing in our terrors and our fears. He played a golden lyre, had a voice of the stars. He trekked the world by boat, moving near and far, blessed by the gods. Thousands heard his voice. The world moved when he made that fabled choice. He joined the ranks of a famous noble vessel, manned by a crew of 50 heroic men, the son of a god, men who hunted and wrestled, some of which were never seen again. He angered the gods, and their vengeance slew his lover, a deadly nest of snakes, and left her body cold, though he knew in his heart he could never love another, and hatched a plan both foolish and bold. He played a golden lyre, had a voice of the stars. He trekked the world by boat, moving near and far, blessed by the gods. Thousands heard his voice. The world moved when he made that fabled choice. For years, looking for the entrance that would take him to the darkness under the earth, braving deadly perils and a guardian immense to prove to the king and queen his worth. He moved their frozen hearts with his beautiful song. They granted him to leave with his lover and wife if he didn't look behind as he traveled along. They would restore her soul and her life. He played a golden lyre, had the voice of the stars. He tracked the world by boat, moving near and far, blessed by the gods. Thousands heard his voice. The world moved when he made that fabled choice. Alas, curiosity proved to be his downfall. He tried to steal a glance to see if the gods spoke true. She disappeared in seconds with a sorrowed, haunting call, just as the earth's green meadows were in view. And so ends the tale of our brave and noble wanderer, who tried and failed to bring his love back to the sun. The only chance to restore his true love he squandered, and in that valley his life was undone. Historicus stood and looked at his work, volumes of all of the lore on the earth, a lifetime of labor for his hoplites and serfs, all the servants and scribes his vast treasures could feed. He paged through the volumes that he couldn't read. His scribes had translated and sated his needs, but he knew that the books were the greatest indeed, or so he'd been told by his huddled elites. So he summoned his guard, and the wagon was leashed, and a score of apprentices gathered beneath, with their tablets appended to defend against grief, for their lord could bring praises or scolds. He hiked up his robe of linen and gold, and gazed at his consort who had dared to grow old. He heaved towards the wagon, and without being told, his caretakers moved in to help. But for once he deferred, he'd do it himself. Though a noble, well-bred, he was in perfect health. So he swung up his leg and missed, and he yelled and tried to grab on to his staff. But his bulk was too great, and he stumbled and crashed, and there on the ground, with his saged head cracked, as he lay there and faded, he sputtered and laughed. For once he had done his own work. Came down from the hills and camped in the pond that sits mirror still. Spoke to the clod and the beaked and the billed, and rejoiced for her life was fine. Out from the city came a sensual man, sent out from the temple to act on a plan. The queen of the city took with forceful hands any she wanted to share of her wine. So the harlot he stopped and drank from the pool. His throat clicked and locked to feel the barb cruel. The wilder woman held out to his neck, but he won out her mercy and asked her direct. Lie with me, woman, and put down your spear. Let me take your sorrows and heartbreak and fears. Take of my spirit, take all that you need. My body is here to follow your lead. After 7 vivid nights that they laid, the wilder woman grew newly afraid. The beasts were now fearful of her touch and her gaze, and she wept at what she had lost. The man saw her tears and softened the pain. He pulled out the beetles and moss from her mane. He spoke of the city and why he had came, and wept at what it had cost. So through 2 more weeks they mingled and talked, wore breeds into sandals with smooth river rocks, tanned hide of a lion for girdle and cape, and walked close together to the great gates. Come out, great queen, and fight a true foe. Don't pilfer the husbands of your women folk. I lost to you humans my tie to the land. So come out, dear monarch, and die by my hand. And out came the queen, in a battle they clashed. 10 seasons they grappled and throttled and lashed. While they struggled, the city trained enforcers unmatched. By the time they collapsed, the queen was dethroned. After waking, both realized just what they had gained. Finding another so strong and untamed, they decided for glory in the great city's fame to rove and bring great riches home. And they went on their journey, now etched in the stars. The harlot was mournful and wandered afar, and though his adventures are less widely known, he would tell of his lover wherever he roamed. She came from the mountain and sang like the birds, a song of such beauty few mortals have heard. Though our cities will grow to height yet unseen, I mourn for the wilderness robbed of its queen. Sweet sings the siren over salt water foam. The sailors who took me so far from my home are raving and screaming and clawing their ears, trying to block out the song that they hear. Though I hear the singing, ringing and clear, my heart is not captured by longing or fear. I wait for my jailer to rush to the fray with the singers as cover. I steal away, though late in the night, without the sun's rays. I hurry my flight while my captors are dazed. But enough of the stars peek through the veil, and I follow with ease the Milky Way's trail. Though I'm born from the stars and I walk on the wind, I still have to hobble through sorrow and sin. Creatures and vagabonds swarm for my light, to keep like a jewel, to warm them at night. I watch the Sphinx leave and stare at my palm. Though her fortune held evil, my heart is still calm. After fortnights of riddles and terrible tests, old questions were answered, and air floods my chest. For leagues out to Stygia, the song could be heard. Over mountains and oceans echoed each word. After service and solitude, as treasure or slave, I'd live in no harem, adorn no king's grave. Though I'm born from the stars and I walk on the wind, I still have to hobble through sorrow and sin. Creatures and vagabonds swarm for my light, to keep like a jewel, to warm them at night. Though I'm born from the stars and I walk on the wind, I still have to hobble through sorrow and sin. Creatures and vagabonds swarm for my light, to keep like a jewel, to warm them at night. Aye, the red pulsing glow and the hammerheads blow, our destiny pulled from the ground. With 4 crucibles cracked and our calamine brass, no longer will we be held down. Well, the fates may decree that we speak blasphemy when we choose to be free of their web. But our sisters deny that we have to die for the sins of the heaven-cursed dead. Rise against the heaven sent to keep us meek and low. The lies that warped our hooves and skin have kept us down below, as if it was hubris to want to be fed. Put clothes on our children or sleep in fine beds. If gods were so great, we'd already be dead. Our people have paid more than you know, so we bided and planned and brought in more hands. We had spies in the ranks of their priests. Over oceans and sands we reached foreign lands and readied ourselves to rise from beneath. The foreigners came and clashed in our name. Cunning cowled cowards fled their great stones. The triumphant remained and new kingdoms were laid by the victors who'd won their new homes. We rose against the heaven sent to keep us meek and low. We know that with their evil spent, our kingdom will still grow. Though they came from outside, they helped us to be free, to mold and to shape our own destinies, to watch the old gods turn tail and flee. Our people have won more than you know. Thundering chariots bound down the track, necks are all craned to leer at the race. A poor urchin girl selling fruit from a sack. A spectator reads, the juice smears his face. Back on the track, a horse's leg breaks. The chariot flips and screams can be heard. The crowd is excited and for the show's sake, the other contestants each race undeterred. Is this why we quarried the stone? To build massive temples to our new divine. The keystones were laid by people alone. No creatures but us built this great chiseled shrine. My head starts to ache as the ritual starts. I pray to the goddess of wisdom in rhyme. The words leave my mouth with an ache in my heart. I drone with dull tone each scripted line, though I witnessed ascension and healings. And I've lived enough time to know what we've gained. As my years grow greater, so does the feeling. No goddess of wisdom would sanction these games. Is this why the old theaters fell? Were cook-fire stories so savage and poor? Without teaching the past, how can we tell if it's monster or goddess that we supplicate for? The forums are filled with chaos and blame, and many have gathered our help to beseech. The soldiers take bribes, and without any shame, they threaten the farmers, dismiss them as weak. So the polity riots, and I have to agree, though I've spent my whole life under vows. If my goddess exists, she's blind to our needs. Nothing holy or mortal will keep us low now. This is how we'll drive our fate. No out-of-touch gauntlet will again be revered. We'll raise our own people who have proved themselves great, and never again will we bow to our fear. He shucked the shell from the mussel, gobbled the meats and smiled and thought of the tubers and greens he had rustled to roast up with beets and steep in a sauce. For days he had wondered and wondered, pondered and plundered.